All right. Happy Friday, everybody. Thanks so much for jumping on live. I know there's a few people in the audience today that are watching our live recording of the Clear channel. I started this YouTube channel a few years ago, and the whole purpose is to help change the world one leader at a time. And so over the course of time, we brought on some amazing people in the business world, some amazing people in the sports world. And we definitely have an incredible young lady here today that's going to chat with us. Then I'll tell you a little bit of backstory. So we met Rachel. A few of us got a chance to go down to Florida and participate in a charity golf tournament in South Florida at, I think it was the Jacaranda Country Club, if you remember that or not, Rachel. But and we went around, and of course we brought a couple of golfers here. We brought a couple partiers and golfers together, and we had a really good time on the golf course, to say the least. And then I'll tell you, Rachel was the professional golfer that was hired, and we'll have to kind of explain how that works, right? But
Yeah, sure.
you're on the course, and we'll talk through about what you're doing. I remember we paid money, and you took shots for us, which was we were so grateful because you hit the green every time. First of all, Rachel, great to see you again. Thanks so much for doing with us this call and this interview. But
Thank
how
you.
you been?
I've been great. Thanks for having me. This is fun.
I appreciate it. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about, first of all, first question I have for you. I like asking sometimes, in one word, what is Rachel made of?
I would say perseverance. That would be my word.
Why?
Um, so my golf journey is different than most. I didn't start when I was a little kid. I actually played basketball. So I was always playing catch up. And I think some things I overcame or had to overcome over the years. I just had this goal of playing in college and then playing professionally. And I think um, every challenge, like injury, etc., just pushed me to keep going. And so that's just who I am. I just don't quit. So I just kept on trucking.
I love it. I love it. So tell me a little bit about growing up, right? So you're a bit of an athlete, not in golf. Played some basketball. Tell me about family. Where are you from? What's your background? So people can get a context of that.
Sure. I grew up in North Carolina, and then I moved down to Florida after college to pursue golf. Just because I realized I can't stay in North Carolina in the winters if I want to get better, because I was already behind, so I couldn't keep playing catch up. So um, after college, I came down here in Florida. But yeah, so I grew up in North Carolina my whole life, and then went to college at North Carolina, played on the golf team there, and then probably decided my junior, senior year I wanted to keep playing. I really didn't know what I wanted to do other than golf, so I just did the next thing I thought of is to go to Q school, and there's a path to basically earn status on tour, and so I did that. Played some mini tours before I went to Q school, and then I went and I played before the season started for Symetra's tour in 2019. I played in the Australian. It's called ALPG. It was co-sanctioned with the European Tour, and so I played that tour for 2 months before I got my first start in Symetra in April of 2019, and then basically made the cut in my first one. So I got reshuffled up because once you make the money list, then you get reshuffled. We have a few per season. And it just so happened it was close. So I got reshuffled into 8 more events, and that's kind of how it all began. So
Love it. I love it. So, it's interesting because I don't know if everybody knows kind of how the golf world works, right? So every tournament, keep me honest here. I may not know all the details too. So from my understanding, obviously you got to get your tour card, and once you get your card, then sponsors and other things come in, and they actually pay for the events that you compete in. Again, keep me honest here. But before you get to that spot as a player, you have to make the investment not only in yourself, but the financial investment to get into the tournaments. And so, it's a huge challenge because you got to create a revenue stream to be able to compete, to try to get on the tour, to get the sponsors. Is that all right? So is that about, is that a,
no, that's right. I actually had some help and sponsor before I got injured after that season 2019 and before COVID. after COVID, it was very hard financially for everyone, obviously. And so I was also hurt. So I didn't feel like it was the best time to ask, for, investors for money because I wasn't playing and also COVID. And so I'm kind of doing it on my own right now. And thankfully, we have Backswing Golf Events. That's the company that I met you all through. So, I was at the tournament in Jacaranda and we just so happened to meet. And y'all are like my favorite group so far. It's been no, it was so fun. I mean, it was just great. And so that we travel a lot in the spring, summer, and fall. We're really really busy, and every year it grows. There's probably 250 of us pro golfers. Some have decided not to play anymore, who are moms and whatnot. But there are also some. You definitely need to be playing college, but most of us are pros, and so we do these events and travel all over the U.S. and they're usually just one day events, and you fly back right after the event. Get there the night before. Pretty simple. Like I leave for Cleveland on Sunday night, and then Monday come back Monday night. So they're really fast trips, and then you're kind of in and out. We do beat the pro games. We do long drive. Um, I mean, anything. We do roaming pro. That's my favorite. So you basically are with a sponsor and you ride in a cart and you basically go visit a lot of the groups. So essentially that would look like, if I was with y'all, I would just be going from group to group, but probably stay with y'all a long time. And then, play like 3 holes with your group and then hit some shots. With roaming pro, we don't really fundraise much, but we could. And so basically you just come and have fun and give them a few shots and make it more interesting for the group.
That's awesome. So this company you work for, is obviously brought in by nonprofits or companies or whoever's putting on the tournament. Essentially, you go in. So we saw you. I think it was on a par three. To be
Hmm.
fair,
That was to beat the pro. Yes.
so that was beat the pro. So I know we paid, I don't know, $100 or something, or 150. I forget, for you to take a shot, and then for us to try to be better than your shot. And we weren't. None of us were. I think actually, I wonder if Jared was. Jared may have been pretty close.
Yes. So basically, there's three different tiers options we usually do. So usually we start at like 300 or 400, depending on what kind of tournament, if it's a corporate event. So you start there and you get basically a zero for your team score. So you automatically get that, and then you automatically get some raffle tickets. And if you beat me, you get double amount of raffle tickets. And so we always have a prize at the end that we raffle off. So
Yeah,
that's what we did.
I remember. That was awesome. That was awesome. And it's interesting because so at these events, for anyone that's maybe watching today and has never had a chance to be a part of a charity or a nonprofit golfing event, these organizations, for us, we are raising money for the orphanage that we take care of as a business, and we're raising money for local Broward County schools, from what I remember that day. And then I know here in the office, I got a couple pictures. I remember that I went a little crazy on all the sports memorabilia. So we got Tom Brady picture that was signed.
Yeah, you went all I love that. You went all out. I was like,
Yeah,
let's go. But yeah, that was an awesome charity. And because afterwards we usually have dinner with I usually stay and do the award and stuff, but you can hear, what exactly more about the charity. I mean, you go in knowing a little bit, but they talk afterwards and talk about all the money that was raised that day and where it's going, and some other people speak. So it was really cool event. I love that one. I want to do that one again.
yeah. It's every year Vanessa and the team put that on, so it's an awesome event. So tell me this, growing in the game of golf, clearly you have your challenges, and even in a tournament, right? I know we were chatting yesterday preparing for today's call, and there's a bit of a strategy to the game of golf, from like, the first round to the second round, and like course management. Can you tell me just like what do you put in? We'll start with preparing for a tournament, preparing to be at your best and to show up. What does that look like for a professional athlete?
Yes, so I will say 2 weeks prior to the tournament, this past tournament, I was doing a lot of backswing events, and so I had think I had like three in the same week. So I was in three different states. So I didn't have as much time to actually practice. And so when I got back, I'm like, okay, if I'm playing this tournament, I need to grind this whole week. And usually I want more than just a week, but I had a week. That's all I had this time. So, I mean, granted, I've been practicing my whole life, but I needed like a very intense week of practice. And so that's how I prepared. I think I like did some range work most days, and then I'd go play. And then I had practice rounds Wednesday and Thursday, and the tournament started Friday. And so I literally just had a week. And I'm working on something with my coach right now, and I didn't want to get too technical before an event. You don't want to get too in your head about technique. So I made sure I was still practicing and all the right things, but I've also wanted to focus on just playing the game. So there was a few putting drills I needed to do just to start online, just like the normal things. I mean, it's funny because you learn all those small things when you're young, and then that's literally what you have to do when you're at this level as well. You just have to make sure the fundamentals are good. So yeah, mainly just did the putting drills, chipping drills, and then there's just some things in my swing, but ultimately I don't know, I just try to grind and get the reps I needed before to feel comfortable
I love it.
tournament. But yes, for course management, that's basically where the strategy comes into play. So um, I had, well, there was two courses we played that last week. So for example, we usually just have one course, but we had to play two practice rounds. Well, the second one got rained out. Just the course was flooded, so couldn't play. So I used this app called 18 Birdies. So I'm not sure if anybody has heard of that, but there's two different stints.
I literally just downloaded it the other day.
Yeah, there's the Grant and there's 18 birdies. I really like the 18 birdies because I'm used to it, and it's awesome. You can just pick your yardage that you're going to be playing. Drag your finger to where you think you're going to hit in the fairway, and then kind of map it out like that. And so my coach and I have always talked about um, what's the word? The lines, basically picking your lines off the tee and how you can actually look all the way to the green and you're not just going to the fairway. It's like, where do you want to be in relation to where the pin is, that kind of thing. So you kind of narrow in on that, make sure, you know what you're hitting off the tees. Obviously you have to factor in wind of the day of, but yeah, just come up with kind of a game plan and then work on the things that you think you're going to need to have dialed in before that tournament. So, if it's one of those that has big greens and you have to play to your space, you obviously need to do a lot of lag putting, um, stuff like that. If, you might not be chipping as much. Like I didn't chip much at all because the greens were so big. Like even if I missed a green, I'm putting usually, or I'm in a trap because I short trap myself. But that's one thing that's course management is good for is you don't, if there's a left pin and a left trap, you don't go there. You just go to the middle of the green, maybe a little right, and then you can make you can have a 30 footer and make par. Like it's not a big deal. You don't go for that pin to make birdie. You try to make birdie the hard way, and if you can't, you can do it the next hole. So you have to know which ones you can attack and which ones you have to,
Play
play
smart.
more conservatively. Yes.
Yeah, you said something there that I kind of caught, and it's interesting because I think that some relation to sports and how it applies to business. You said you got to focus on the fundamentals. There's so many things that when you're new at a craft or you're new at maybe a business, the basics that you learn how at this level, that's really what you focus on. I remember in college, I played soccer at Penn State, and we used to just the first 15 minutes of practice, and again, we're college athletes, whatever, that we would literally do basic touches, like things that I do with my 10-year-old during their practice, and it's just kind of getting touches on the ball. And I remember thinking to myself, like, why are we doing this? Like, we're all college athletes. But my coach was all about the fundamentals. It's like, it doesn't matter where you are, what business, whatever, if you master the fundamentals, once you get into the game, I've learned 90% of success is mentality. It's mindset. At that level, 10% of it's the actual skill, because everyone's good, right? Everyone is like, they're good enough to play. And it's funny to hear you talk about the game of golf. You're like, yeah, what angles I go, I'm like, I'm just trying to hit the fairway. You know what I mean? I'm just trying to get it so it's not in the trees, where I can actually have a second shot. And to be fair, I'm just trying to hit it clean off the tee. You're like, you're like picking out the spot in the fairway. And it's like, It's very, very interesting. But to hear you say about how vital the fundamentals are and the basics, I think that really hits home with a lot of people.
I think also just the discipline of doing the little things right, and that goes into business too. So, I mean, like if you do those small things right and you're disciplined to do those same drills every single day you practice, then you're gonna have that ingrained pretty well when you get to a tournament. There's certain things that every day I practice I do, and obviously there's days in the past that that didn't happen, but that's mainly my key is you need to check off these two putting drills every time you're there, and so once you do that, you can do like technique drills. We also do these make drills. So make drills are where you create more of a playing experience. So put yourself in pressure situations kind of thing. I mean, kind of. So you basically just there's like 4 to 8 foot putts and there's 10 to 15 foot putts, and we know what the PGA Tour average is. We always go just by PGA Tour, whatever, because if whatever. So 4 to 8 and 10 to 15. So you do 20, 4 to 8, and you do 24. I don't know why the number, but you do 24, 10 to 15, and you get your average of how many you made. If it's lower than PGA Tour average, you just practice those again. And so, yeah, we do that a lot. And you do 24 putts at that distance, figure out your percentage, and kind of know where you stand as far as am I making enough or not? So, and then you're basically just putting them all over different angles. So it's definitely like playing on the course.
I'm smiling because it's just so true, right? And again, I relate everything you're saying not only to my soccer experience but also to
Mhm.
the business that I'm in
Right.
and that we built. We You said the playing experience, right? You actually kind of formulate the playing experience. So when we come in our office here in the morning, in a lot of our offices across the country, we do practice pitch. So literally we have customer scenarios
Oh,
that
cool.
we try to make them as realistic as possible. We have a customer has certain products, certain services or whatever,
Hmm.
and then the team kind of pairs up, and then there's one person's a customer and one person's a sales rep, and we're
That's
trying to
fun.
make it as yeah, we're trying to make it as realistic as possible. Just same thing
Exactly.
as practice. In practice, you got to make it as much as possible. And I'm sure you've seen a lot of the documentaries about the golfers. I don't know if you guys saw the one about Tiger and his dad, but I was watching on a flight recently, and Tiger's dad used to, when he was teeing off growing up, he used to have an air horn, and he would blow the air horn in his ear
Right.
as he's swinging the club to
Hmm.
try to mess with his focus. So there's so many things going on here to ingrain in his mind. Like, if you want to play at this level, you got to be so focused on what you're doing that nothing out here matters, right?
Right.
And again, same here. We have the radio plan. We got a lot of people talking,
Oh
and
yeah.
that's all designed on purpose to make sure people focus and they are able to kind of block out that outside.
I'm glad you brought up focus because I had a mental game coach at one point and we worked on this a lot. So basically, talking about, I mean, I could talk about this stuff for days, but like hijacking your brain. So basically, you come up with a scenario. So I told him about an example one time. There was this guy at the golf course and my home course, and I think I had a conversation about him sponsoring me. And, anyways, I was in a group about 2 holes in front of him, but I could see him from where I was. So I was playing like really, really good. And this was one key example of how I let my brain just like a thought just hijack my
Get
brain.
hijacked.
I got
Yeah, yeah.
off track. And so basically what I started thinking is, all right, well, this guy's watching, like let's do it. You only have 2 holes left. And that's just a really like perfect example of what you don't do because we're all going to have those for sure, and that's how we learn. And that was a good example for him to hear about because then we basically just took it as okay, we can't really control the thoughts, really we have to only control like where we go next. So if we have one of those thoughts, it's like stop and then just like redirect your focus right to where you're at because you can't, that thought comes in, that's already happened, right? So now it's like, okay, what do I want to focus on? You don't do like, what do you not focus on, which would be the guy. What do I want to focus on? Because that's where your brain's going to go. So just like, if you see water, you're like, oh, water. you've heard the whole psychological thing where your brain doesn't know the difference between going to
Tin cup, baby.
right.
Tin cup.
It's like don't go or don't or go, but your brain doesn't know the difference. So just don't even bring up the water in general. Just look at where you want to go, which is the fairway, and then your brain will focus there because our brains are super powerful. So, anyways, that was my little snippet about focus. But I mean, that's one thing I've grown a lot in over the years. Is that's probably yeah, just like focus in general. I think focus is my downfall because I'm such a people person. So even outside of golf on the golf course, like my focus that need to be just totally in tune.
Sure, and in good faith, right? Like you are who you are in your heart and your mind and everything, and you want to be around people. You're a social being. You know what I mean? Like it's all a part of who you are. And then, but to win in the game of golf, and in my opinion, the game of life and business, there are certain times that you have to, narrow in on what you want and what you don't want, and focus there. Love it. So tell me, who do you look up to on tour, and have you met them? Have you ever got a chance to golf with them? Anybody come to mind? Some idols, or
Yeah, I on LPGA tour, I really like Dorina Pillar. Do you know of her? So she's based in Texas, but I met her through this thing called CGF. It was in college, college golf fellowship. So she would have like 25 to 40 girls in her house, like the whole weekend. It was crazy. And so we kind of like all came together, all from different schools. And um, yeah, so she and her husband were doing you know, the whole retreat thing is what it was. We didn't even play any golf. It was just like, you know, fellowship and stuff. And so I started following her and she was so sweet and, giving me her contact. And so I can talk to her about my experiences and for advice. And I mean, I've asked her any kind of advice, like from the business side of golf and finances and to, actual swing and course management type of stuff going into a tournament. And she's been so sweet to do that. And now she's had I think she has like a 3 year old. He might be 4 now. He might be older. I don't know. But she has a baby and there's actually a daycare on tour, which I don't think many people know about, but it's free daycare for LPGA golfers. And so it's like there's like 20 to 30 kids right now in it, and they just all play around. You drop them off before you go play your tournament, and then you pick them back up after. It's kind of funny. Um, and then a girl that was she was 4 years older than me, but she's been on tour and she had a son, and so I think it's cool what she does because her husband actually was on the bag for her all the last few years, and I looked up to her. She's actually now the assistant for Carolina where we went, and so she just took that job, but it just shows a lot because she went through many different things. I think there was one point she was going to quit, and then she Monday qualified into the Kingsmill tournament in Virginia, and so it just kind of jump started. And yeah, it's not easy like financially out there. So it's cool that she pushed through and, did what she had to do. And now I think she'll be happy to be home more and with her kid and coaching. So
yeah, I mean, well, to the point earlier, right? Not everybody knows the financial investment that people put into, and the reality is, you're an entrepreneur. You're an entrepreneur of yourself and your career and your golf game, right? And you have to go out. And you mentioned sponsors. You have to go out and get investments from others that, and or earn the income yourself on other things you do to finance your golf and to keep going. So, and I didn't know that. Obviously, you met Jared, so here in the office when I was talking to him and his experience, and I had no idea like that's how it all worked.
yeah. Like, I mean, entry fees these days, I mean, I don't think many people know, but they've gone up like it depends on what tour you're on. They're anywhere from 450 to like I mean, they could be 650 depending on the tournament, but mainly they're almost 600, and that's just the entry fee. And you're obviously gambling on yourself. Like if I don't make the cut, I'll lose all this money. And then also you have to get there. And so if a lot of our tournaments in Texas, thankfully we have host families. So like honestly, I've met the best people, especially in Australia. I still talk to them. But like my host families have been awesome. Like they're like part of my people now, There's at least like 4 or 5 couples that are super close to me, and that makes our experience way more fun as well, but also like they're helping us financially. We're not paying for our place for the whole week. So that's a huge help that they do on tours now. So
So I heard you right. So when you get a chance to travel to some of these tournaments as you're trying to break through to the PGA, which I guarantee you're going to get there. So kick some ass. I
yeah,
want to be. We're going to be your biggest fans here in Michigan.
love it.
We'll be the hecklers of all your people you're playing with. You know, we're like,
Thank
she's gonna
you.
kick your
Love
ass
it.
in
Appreciate
the hole, right?
Can't wait.
But I didn't. So when you travel, to your point,
Mhm.
because it's extremely costly, right, to get
Oh,
to
for sure.
Texas or to get to other places. You know, I'm going to Texas tomorrow for one of
Mhm,
our business events, right, and the hotels and the travel and
mhm.
everything. So all of that is an investment from someone that is, working their way into the tour. So
For sure, like, none of it's I think, they feed us a few times a week, but, like, other than that, there's nothing the obviously, the green fees are in the entry fee, but nothing else is paid for, so that's why we're really, really thankful for the host family coordinator. We literally have a tournament, coordinator every week for just host families, like, that's their job. So, it's usually a volunteer job too, and it's someone at the course that knows a lot of people, a lot of members, so they put us with some members on the course and stuff like that. So that's really
interesting. And tell me this whole golf journey, right? So I read your bio that you'd sent over. Like you started golf a little bit later in life. You're now pushing really hard to keep moving to accomplishing your goals. And this whole journey, is I'm sure you've had certain evolutions, things you've learned about yourself. Is there anything you'd like to share today that you've learned that maybe someone could take away from your experience?
Yeah, I think I just had this I just underestimated how hard it would be, I guess, because you get out and you're super excited. That's usually your best year at Q school is because there's no expectations, no pressure, like, oh, it's just so exciting. And so a lot of girls do that. And so I remember like a few years later, I went back to Q school and there was like young girls and a lot of them made it through that year. And then that was the year that I didn't make it as far as the previous year because we were older and I think we put more pressure on ourselves and expectations because you're like, okay, I put this much time into this, like let's make, let's do it. And I think it's just funny because your mindset can be so different, but I think I needed that experience because it almost became like a life and death situation, which we know it's not, but in our brains, like that's what happens when you're out there. It's like this putt means you make, like there's a lot of stuff that you can't focus on, right? But I needed that experience because until you live it and you're like, oh, I'm okay. Like I didn't make it, but I'm fine. Like I'm still here, like it's all good. So I think you have to, like, you can read all the books and everything, but I think until you actually experience, we don't even, we wouldn't really say failure. I mean, not making it through, like, then you're like, okay, um, it's okay. We're going to learn from it, and it's ultimately going to help you succeed. So that's kind of how I see that. But yeah, I think just like realizing it's not just like this and here, it's going to be like this, and be okay with that.
We all wish it was like this.
Yeah, it's definitely not. Yeah. So I think just realizing that you just got to kind of, I mean, do your best with all these, and stay level headed and
I love it. It's just so true, right? And it's interesting. Again, we have so many parallels to what I see. And 20, I've been in this industry for 20 years, and there's young people in sales when they come in, they're so excited. They freaking hated their last job, so they're just so grateful to be a part of a fun company because. Our people who you met, I mean, are some of our best people, and we have a ton of people just like that that work. I mean, it is what it is. We just, in my eyes, if
you
when we do
recruit
the
well.
recruiting,
Yeah.
we got some great recruiters, so but the thought is like we ask ourselves, the first thing we ask is, do we like them? Would we go grab a beer with them? Would we have a good time? And that means a lot to us because our culture, our family, like we want to be around these people and we want to travel. We want to have some fun. We're taking 15 people, actually more than that, 25 people to Texas at this event we're going to on Monday, Tuesday. Yeah. So it's like, that it's important, but I see people come in and like, they do sales in their first couple days. They don't know anything. They don't know their ass from their elbow. They're just like, hi. They're like, hey, and the customer asks them, what's the price this? I have no idea. They turn around and trainer, help me out. I don't even know they don't know. They just don't know, but they're excited. And they interact with customers because we sell wireless cell phones and internet plans and to customers in retail stores, right? I haven't told you about that. And but then you get people that are just as equally talented, and if not more talented because they have more skill, and they're 3, 6, 8 months later, and they get less results than that person on their first or second week.
Exactly.
And it's exactly what you just described in golf, where people overthink things, and they think about this putt is gonna I'm gonna make, I don't know, 10 grand or 1,000 or 2,000. Like they think about the result as opposed to just be right here,
Right. Exactly, just
enjoy the
be
moment.
present, yeah, enjoy it because, that's I mean, anyone loves a fun, energetic, just personable salesperson. That's why it's so funny because when I'm at a backswing event, I can literally tell who the salespeople are and who, like I'm not gonna say it on here, but there's, like, other people that aren't as fun,
Others are, we'll just say
and
others.
I'm just like, I know who y'all are. And so then I bond well with the salespeople. My dad is a salesman, and like I want to, eventually do sales. Like I love it. So I think it's funny because my dad, we just are, we just know like salespeople. That's them, you know. And so these people come and like we just kind of bond. I'm like, y'all are the sales guys. I know it because they're fun and they're personal and they're like they have a good personality and people will buy from you if they can genuinely believe what you're talking about and they trust you. So
And they like you, right?
relationship.
That's the first
Yeah.
thing. That's the first thing that people say in anything, right? Is if
Just
I
a
like
relationship.
this person,
Yeah.
they'll spend time. So I love it, love it, love it. Well, I know we're coming up on 10:30, and I appreciate your time. I know you got to travel here soon. Got a big tournament coming up again. And tell everybody what you placed number 10 at the tournament you just had, right?
Yeah, it was tied for 10th for pros, tied for 15th overall. So that was for the Florida Women's Open. There was, I can't remember, like 150 some people, but it was, it's just like the big event for Florida. And I haven't played it in a few years, but it was kind of close by. So I was like, why not? And yeah, so it's like an hour.
So you did well at that tournament. Any other big tournaments the rest of the year? And when are we going to see you on the tour? When are we going to?
I know. That is TBD, but hopefully one day. I'm actually, there's a lot going on right now, but I'm getting my real estate license, so I actually have to take the test soon. And I'm gonna do that some in the winter during off season. So yeah, we'll see, but to be determined. So you have to, yeah, stay
We'll
tuned.
stay in touch. Yeah, I love it. I love it. And then last thing, anything else you'd like to share there? And again, Rachel, thank you so much for the time today. We appreciate you sharing your wisdom about golf and
Thank you.
things. So many things translate to the business world. But any final thoughts?
No, I think I love this podcast you're doing. I think it's fun. I think it's really cool to see how business and golf line up, business, any other kind of sport. I've always thought sports help you in life more than most things in school. Literally, because you're learning about how to be on a team, but also discipline and you know dedication to your sport or whatever you're doing. So I think in life too, like faith is really important to me, and that's basically what helped me. Like with my golf, is just like trusting that it's all going to work out. Like just you got to just stay one foot in front of the other and just keep on going. And I think you can learn a lot in like golf and life. You can't worry about one tournament. You can't worry about one shot. You just have to, every shot counts. Just focus on that one thing. And I think a lot of times in business, I'm sure you just got to keep your head down and yeah, focus.
Keep moving forward. Yeah, the I always say the days aren't that good and the days aren't that bad. It's just, if they're high, great. If they're low, they're low. They always kind of level themselves out. And it's a matter of to your point, if there are tough times people are having, tough times don't last, tough people do. And over the course of time, I believe that the world is a very interesting place where you tend to get what you deserve. If you take care of people and you make a massive impact on others, the world, the universe will give you everything you've ever dreamed of. So thank you so much for the time today. Appreciate you joining the Clear Channel. Please follow us on Instagram and all these other places we are. And Rachel, how can people follow you real quick if anybody wants to follow you on Instagram and be your biggest fan?
Sure. It's at Rachel underscore Aaron, ERIN 4, just the number 4. So, and it's RACHEL. I know some people say AEL, but I'm just the E.
I love it. I love it. All right. Well, thank you so much, everybody. You guys have a great weekend. And Rachel, and hang tight real quick, so we got to make sure this records. But thanks again for jumping on today.
Thank you so much for having me. This is so fun.
Love it. All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.